Hi everyone, welcome back. There's been a question asked about positions. Someone asked if we could do a tutorial on positions. So I'm here today to address that one. And in thinking about how I'd present this, I come up with a few different ideas. Before we sort of do a tutorial on positions themselves, let's discuss a few other things that sort of come into play with doing positions or shooting positionally within NRL 22. And one of them for me is weight. Weight and balance. I have every weight available to me on this gun that I can put on an ACC chassis. I have all the internal weights, and I've added a piece that goes forward of the tuner, okay? That's to get the weight out the front. Now you'll see this gun quite happily will balance there about an inch forward of my mag well. And that's as good as I'm going to get this gun at the moment, unless I go with a longer, heavier contour barrel to get the weight that way, okay? You need your weight forward. So you can see on this gun, I've added that weight. I've missed this one here because typically that's how I hold my gun. Then, I don't know if you can see that there, then I've added double weights on the next one, and then single, and the internals. Now, on the double weights, let me see if I can show you. I've put JB weld and silicon carbide on there. Okay, now that's my thumb rest. I'll explain that more in a minute. That was part of what I was saying before. Before we discuss positions, let's discuss how you set your gun up, okay? So weight and balance is a great consideration for me, and I'm so glad I did that early in my career, because I feel this gun is the best weight and balance that it can be for me at the moment. If something else comes to mind for me, I'll try it. I try things, I run them for a month or so, see how I go. If I like them, I keep them. If I don't like them, I get rid of them, okay? So I have developed a thumb rest there and there on both sides of my gun. So if I'm shooting left hand, if I'm shooting support hand or strong side, okay? I normally find on the pyramid, I can't get my hand out the front of my gun, so I'll get it at the back here and grip onto the gun and the bag, okay? More on that. Things you need to consider when shooting positionally. What bags to use. Again, I was very lucky. I didn't go down the track of buying 10, 15 bags. I actually bought just the one. I bought a tab bag a couple of years ago. I use this bag a little bit within NRL 22. It was a light fill bag. I've tipped that out and I put a heavy fill sand in there. I'll normally use this bag. My one go-to bag 99.9% of the time is my medium. Absolutely love the heavy fill medium. Can't shoot without this thing. I listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of American centerfire podcasts. Miles to Matches is a great one if you guys are interested. Shout out to them fellas. They have taught me nearly everything that I know. Just be aware if you go a medium, heavy fill medium, just be aware that you can use it that way and that way. And I'll explain a couple of these different ways of using it in a minute. Absolutely love this bag. Another bag that a friend of mine, a great mate of mine, shout out to Ling Ling. Thank you for this bag. I was lucky enough to have a very handy friend who can make a lot of different stuff. Early in my career, just needed a pump pillow. Pump pillows are normally used to fill a gap, you know, between the elbow and the rest of your body. Don't really use this bag that much at all. I don't know if it's because I've trained so much with this medium before I got a pump pillow, but I hardly ever use a pump pillow. I can't handle anything hanging off me. It just drives me bonkers. I see a lot of people go to the line with a lot of different bags. Dudes, keep it simple. Really, honestly, this is the only bag you'll ever need. It's a beauty. Okay, guys and girls, let's talk positions, finally. Positions to me can be easily broken into 6 different lots. When I first started NRL 22, I found some of the positions very hard to get into. 6 litre bucket was a hard one for me. If you're like me and you got belly, you bend over, you lose all your air, you try to blank out. It's you need to get into position quickly, shoot, get out of position. So I've come up with the 6 basics of positioning, which are prone, modified prone, kneeling, modified kneeling, standing, modified standing. I think if you break those 6 up and if you understand them and you can get yourself into those positions quite easily, it's a lot easier for you. The barricades, our barricades are known and don't change. We might get more barricades at the end of this season. See how we go. But that's what I do. I break them up into 6 different lots. I learn to shoot off my knees. I do a lot of shooting on my knees. So I've got the ladder for you today to show you some positions. It's going to be a long video to show you every position known to man. Things like the tyres. I hate the tyres because they can be done in so many different positions. But I'll just do you a quick run through on what I normally do. This is the ladder and it will use most of the 6 initially. Hope you can see that gun. That's how I set my gun up to shoot the bottom rung of the ladder. I normally like to try and go prone straight off the bottom rung. I'll just lay my gun straight on the bottom rung. I use my trusty tab bag to support it at the rear. Gun's very well set up, easy to use in this position on the bottom rung. Okay, so that's what I'd call modified prone. Okay, so prone is just simply on your belly. Flat on your belly, bipod, rear support. Okay, so for the ladder, the second part of this, the next rung on this ladder, I'll be using my medium. I'll have hold of my gun and the bag. Okay, that's basically the only skin I'll have on the gun, other than my fingers on the trigger. I support myself with my core. I'm on my gun, run the bolt, break the shot. Okay, these guns, when you get them, before when I was talking about weight and balance, this gun will quite happily sit there on its own. So all I try to do once I'm behind it is not disturb it. Disturb it as least as I can. Okay, then break the shot. This gun is 21 pound and has an 8 pound trigger. Works very well for me. So that's what modified kneeling looks like. The next shot for me on the ladder, I normally like to just simply pull my gun straight out like that. Use my medium on the next run, push in and raise the knee. Okay, if I have a target array or a target that's fairly high coming off this ladder, that's what I'll do. Or quite simply, just get behind my gun, both knees on the ground. Again, I'm grabbing the gun with my left hand. I grab the weight and the bag. That's how my gun's supported. When I'm running my bolt, my left hand's holding my gun. Okay. Next position would be the next rung, which I call a modified standing position. Again, I take my gun off and put my gun on these positions exactly the same way every time. Okay, so modified standing, I like to get straight behind my gun, have my gun in the centre of my body as much as I can, get a cheek weld, get behind glass, run your bolt, break the shot. Okay, the 5th rung of our ladder out here at Charters, very easy. This is probably the best demonstration of just flat out standing. Get behind your gun, find your target, break the shot. Okay, so while I've got you down there, I want to show you another position. Before, when I was saying with this medium, be aware that you can use tips up and tips down. Okay, so that's tips down on the ladder. It's not very often that I use tips down. Use tips down on the ladder and the sawhorse. I think the sawhorse, normally I've got my right knee lifted. On the tank trap, Another thing we haven't really discussed, I have discussed it in another video, get used to running your bag in this hand and your gun in this hand, and get familiar and comfortable with that. What I see a lot of people do is they have trouble with their heavy bag. Next thing, it's on the ground. Okay, you can practice that at home without any fear of endangering anyone. Have your bag in this hand, gun in that hand. I'll just show you how I set up on a tank trap. I'll spend a little bit extra time to make sure that bag is exactly where I want it. Now, out here at Charters, our tank traps is pipe. When I go away and shoot the 100-yard series, the tank trap is a thicker wood. I kind of like it better because I can set up a little bit quicker on it. But just get to know your props. Get to know the props at the club that you're shooting at, okay? Normally when I suggest to newer people to spend the time to set up your bag, you'll see them just put it there and tap it. Don't get into the habit of just tapping. Spend the time to set it up properly, okay? Gun on the bag, behind your gun. This way, with tips up, I can really grab hold of the bag and the gun at the same time. That really helps me support it. Okay, so lastly, with positional shooting, the biggest, I suppose, problem that I see with watching other competitors is people don't know where they're going or where they're going to next. So I guess what I'm trying to say is know where you're going. Know that when you're shooting the 20-litre bucket, you're 2 knees down, okay? You got your tips up on your bag, that's how you're gonna shoot it. Know that before you get there. I see people, after the buzzer, they get on their knees, it's not comfy, so they sit down, that's not comfy. So now they're in some contorted position, they've taken 30, 40 seconds to fire one shot. I guess, yeah, know where you're gonna go. Know that if you're coming off the bottom rung of a ladder and you're going to transition to a 44-gallon drum, going into that scenario, I'd know that my bipod is all the way forward so I can use it on the bottom of the ladder and not have it hit anything. Legs are up, and then when I transition to the blue 44-gallon drum, I'll undo my bipod, put it all the way back to the mag well, tighten it, drop the legs, get in position. I'm supported front and rear. Okay, it's probably the biggest thing I see with newer people is they get there and they're like, oh God, what do I do now? Don't be that person. I always try to train the monthly course of fire before I go and shoot it. I'll come out here with my mates, we'll have a bit of a yarn, do this, lift a knee, put 2 knees down. God, Boney and I, if you guys knew how many shots Boney and I have taken on those tyres and we still miss, it's embarrassing. The tyres are like a living thing. Don't put any weight on your tyres when you're trying to shoot off tyres. Just try to support yourself with your core. Have your gun on a bag, on the tyre, and just try not to disturb as much as you can. The tyres, like I say before, I sort of hate shooting tyres because I find it very hard to get my gun to stop moving. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've enjoyed making it for you. Again, if there's anything else you want to discuss, drop it in the comments and I'll slip out and do a video on it. Okay, let's catch you on the next one.